Ever get that feeling, like you're not getting the full story?
Yeah.
Like maybe people aren't being totally upfront with you.
Right.
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It's a problem as old as time.
Yeah.
I mean, even Machiavelli, the master of strategy himself,
Right.
knew he couldn't be right all the time.
Of course, of course.
And then there's the emperor strutting around in his birthday suit.
Oh, classic.
No one daring to say a word.
Afraid to tell the truth.
Exactly. So today, we're diving deep into this whole yes men thing.
Yes.
How to make sure, you don't end up caught with your pants down, metaphorically speaking.
Precisely. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
You strive for these leadership positions.
You climb that ladder.
You climb the ladder, but often it seems like the higher you climb, the lonelier it gets.
Oh, absolutely.
It takes a really secure leader to genuinely welcome those dissenting opinions.
100%.
And Machiavelli, he understood this. Surrounded himself with people who would actually challenge him.
Who would push back.
Push back, make him think differently.
Question his assumptions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, is probably how he stayed ahead of the game for so long.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real danger here.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about, someone's feelings getting hurt.
Right.
This echo chamber, it can lead to some seriously bad decisions.
Oh, 100%.
Think about it. How many companies have gone under because they were so convinced their own ideas were brilliant?
So many.
They missed those warning signs, those really obvious ones.
It's incredible how often it happens.
Right.
They get so insulated, so sure of their own story.
Like they're in their own little bubble.
Exactly. And they lose touch, completely out of sync with their customers.
The market.
With the market. Sometimes even their own employees.
And that's where I think the chief communications officer comes in.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about a high-pressure role.
It is. It is.
They have to manage the message, but
Yeah.
also be that voice of reason.
Right.
Sometimes whispering that uncomfortable truth to power.
It's a tough job, a delicate dance, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
But a good CCO, they can be so valuable.
Oh, invaluable.
They have this unique perspective, seeing both the inside of the organization
Right.
and the world outside.
The big picture.
They connect the dots, see that bigger picture,
Exactly.
and help their leaders navigate those, let's say, choppy waters.
So it's more than just being a good communicator.
Oh, much more.
It's about being a strategic advisor almost.
Absolutely.
Like the corporate conscience, in a way.
Yes. And in this deep dive, we're highlighting 5 key strategies that CCOs can use
Okay.
to really become those trusted advisors. And these aren't just some, fluffy buzzwords.
Right.
These are battle-tested tactics, making sure leaders get the information they need,
Okay.
even when it's the last thing they want to hear.
So let's get specific here.
Let's do it.
Strategy number 1, fostering open dialogue.
Okay.
And I don't mean just casual Friday chit-chat.
No, no, no.
This is about building a culture where people feel safe speaking their minds,
Yes.
even if, and maybe especially if, it challenges the way things are usually done.
Because let's face it, nobody wants to be that person.
The one to call out the elephant in the room.
The one to say, hey, the emperor, he's not wearing any clothes.
Right.
It takes courage to speak truth to power. But when you create a culture where honest feedback is actually valued,
Yes.
you avoid those nasty surprises down the line.
You prevent those disasters before they even happen.
Exactly.
Which brings us to strategy number 2. Delivering the unvarnished truth.
The unvarnished truth, yes.
No sugarcoating.
Nope.
No hedging your bets. Just straight up, here's the situation.
This is how it is.
Even if you risk being the bearer of bad news.
Because sometimes being a good leader means hearing things you don't like.
Tough love.
It is. And the CCO might be the only one with the guts to do it.
To deliver that message.
To have that difficult conversation, it's about protecting the leader, the organization.
And ultimately, protecting everyone involved.
The bottom line, everything.
Which requires, would you say, a deep understanding of strategy?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, anyone can point out a problem, but knowing how to solve it,
that's the real skill.
that's a whole other ballgame.
And that's where our third strategy comes in. Strategic counsel.
Strategic counsel, right?
The CCO's understanding of both the internal and the external, it becomes absolutely crucial.
Because you got to connect those dots.
Connect the dots, anticipate the challenges.
Help the leader see the whole board.
See the bigger picture? Absolutely.
Right, so it's not just about the communication itself.
Yeah.
It's about knowing what those communications will mean.
Exactly.
Both within the company's own walls.
Yes.
And how they'll be perceived by the outside world.
A great CCO can say, okay, here's how this decision, if you make it, is likely to play out. Inside the company, here's what might happen. And out in the market, here's how it might be perceived.
Interesting.
They're thinking several steps ahead,
Wow.
like a chess player,
Right.
anticipating those pitfalls, but also seeing the opportunities.
Wow. And speaking of diverse perspectives,
Oh, yes.
our next strategy is all about championing diversity and inclusion.
Very important.
We hear a lot about it these
What do you
days.
do?
But it's important to remember, this isn't just ticking a box.
No,
It's not a PR stunt.
it's not.
It's about building an environment where everyone feels seen, heard, respected.
100%.
Right.
It is.
Everyone.
Yeah,
And it's about recognizing that when you have a variety of viewpoints,
right.
that leads to better choices, better decisions.
Absolutely. When you have people from different backgrounds with different experiences, you're much more likely to get those fresh, innovative ideas.
You avoid those blind spots.
You avoid those costly blind spots. Think about it. A room full of people who all think the same way.
Right.
Not exactly a recipe for success, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. It's like, how does that saying go? Two heads are better than one,
Right.
but it's more than that, you know? It's like having a whole tapestry
A tapestry of voices.
of different voices, different experiences. And that's where you get the real magic happening.
That's where the innovation comes from. Because, groupthink.
Oh, yeah.
Groupthink can be so limiting. It's when we embrace the differences.
Yeah.
Allow everyone to bring those unique talents and insights. That's how you unlock those real breakthroughs.
So we've got fostering open dialogue.
Yeah.
We've got delivering that unvarnished truth. We've got strategic counsel. We've got championing diversity and inclusion.
Right.
Which brings us to our final strategy for CCOs. And this one's all about walking the walk.
Leading by example.
Leading by example.
You can have all the best practices in the world,
Right.
all the strategies, but if you're not living those values yourself,
Right.
it falls a little flat, doesn't it?
It's like that old do as I say, not as I do.
It's not the most inspiring approach.
Not exactly a recipe for success. Not at all. A CCO who's out there, championing open dialogue, but then shuts down anyone on their team who disagrees with them.
Right.
It sends a mixed message.
It does.
Authenticity is so crucial.
It really is. Because ultimately, it comes down to trust, right?
Trust, absolutely.
And you build that through your actions, through transparency,
Consistency.
being genuinely willing to listen to other people.
And learn from them.
And learn from other people. And being open to, maybe you don't have all the answers.
Admitting you don't know everything.
That's a sign of strength, I think.
It really is.
Yeah.
It takes a secure leader to surround themselves with people who are, frankly, smarter than them in certain areas.
Yeah.
Open to being challenged.
Yeah.
Open to constantly learning and growing.
Because let's face it, none of us have it all figured out, right?
Not at all. We're all figuring it out as we go along.
Exactly. It's just trying to navigate this crazy world. But by really embracing these 5 strategies,
Yeah. Fostering open dialogue.
Yeah.
Giving that unvarnished truth. Providing strategic counsel. Championing diversity and inclusion. And, of course, leading by example.
yes,
CCOs can help their leaders and their entire organizations thrive.
thrive.
Even when things are complex. Even when there's uncertainty.
Absolutely. And what's so great about these strategies is they're not just for CCOs.
Oh, that's a good point.
They're for everyone. It doesn't matter what you do, what industry you're in.
It's universally applicable.
These are universal principles.
It is. Because ultimately, we all have a voice, right?
We do.
We all have the power to make a positive difference within our teams, our companies,
Our community.
our communities, wherever we have influence.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO or if you're just starting out, you have a voice. And you can choose to use it.
To speak up,
Yeah.
to share your ideas,
Yeah,
and to look for those diverse perspectives.
absolutely.
So as we're, wrapping up our deep dive here, thinking about yes men and how to be a better leader, here's a question for you listening. Think about your own work, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a meeting and you had an idea, but you kind of held back?
Oh, yeah.
You weren't sure it'd go over well.
Been there. It's like, is it worth it?
Exactly. But what if, and bear with me here, what if that idea could have saved the company millions?
Or even just a little bit of money.
Or a huge headache, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes it's not about the money. It's about, preventing a disaster.
And on the flip side, have you ever been the one who didn't speak up? And then a project went off the rails because of it.
Oof, yeah. Tough lesson to learn. But sometimes those are the conversations we need to have, even if they're a little awkward.
So how do we encourage that, though?
Right. How do we make it safe for people to share?
where people feel like they can bring their whole selves to the table.
Even and maybe especially when they disagree.
It starts with each of us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just being willing to put our own thoughts out there.
Even if you're not 100% sure how it'll land, being open to hearing other people's perspectives.
It's about shifting that mindset from like me against you to we're in this together.
Yes, that's it exactly. We're not enemies here. Disagreeing, that's not being disloyal.
Right.
The best team members, the best leaders, they're the ones who are willing to say, hold on, maybe there's a different way.
What if we tried it like this?
Ask those tough questions, even when it's a little uncomfortable.
So if you're in that meeting and you've got that gut feeling,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to speak your mind.
Yeah,
You might just be the only voice of reason in a room full of yes.
it's true.
And who knows?
Right.
You might just save the day.
Yep.
Or the company. Or at least, Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly. And remember, this whole open communication thing, it's a journey, not a destination.
That process, yeah.
Takes time, takes effort. You got to be willing to be a little vulnerable.
Not always easy.
But the payoff is huge. More creativity, more people feeling involved.
And ultimately, more success.
That's what it's all about.
That's what we all want. Well, on that note, fascinating conversation as always.
Thank you.
To everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those conversations going. You never know where they might lead.